All right, warmly welcome to this exciting webinar where we're going to talk about AI and really how to apply it in modern business. And that is Oles from Geniusee, an expert in data. And he's going to take us into the heart of AI and how the large language are working. So, the floor is yours, Ole.
Thank you. So today we will speak about the potential of large language models. So large language models is actually are pretty wide used today, but they are nowadays mostly used for language processing. Sometimes you can use them for image processing. For example, like OpenAI have an ability to both. But what should we expect like from large language models as a next huge boost, as a next step? So we will talk about that in our today's webinar. So a few words about me. So I'm leading data department in Geniusee. I'm also pretty actively publishing in top tier conference in computer vision and natural language processing. That's are a top conferences in computer vision and natural language processing. And the reason why I'm doing that while I'm leading the department is actually to be on the edge of technologies. And when you're publishing on this top conference where actually top companies are publishing, you actually are on the edge of technologies and you can help to integrate AI solutions in your businesses. So I'm in data science since 2015. Maybe I could be in data science even earlier, but there is that term even not existed before 2015. That term appeared around 2015. Earlier, it was called either machine learning, either statistics. Before that, data science was not existing and it just appeared then. And I also was a CTO of Techstar alumni company that really was really well funded. If I would ask you what you can you tell me the first word that as AI associate you with, you would probably name me either ChatGPT or maybe Midjourney, or maybe something similar to ChatGPT, I don't know, Gemini, Bard, or other things. And that's what currently you are associating with AI. But AI is actually much more general thing, and those tools are not even close to what we are currently calling general artificial intelligence, or something very robust that can replace a human. So ChatGPT makes a lot of mistakes. Midjourney are drawing people with 3, 4, or even 5 hands sometimes. So they are not even close to artificial intelligence, general artificial intelligence now. But they are why we are talking about them so much nowadays, and why they are so popular within the business? The reason for that is pretty simple, and the reason for that is actually this diagram. This diagram shows you how each of apps, how long did it take for each of apps to reach 100 million users. And you may see that actually Uber needs for that 70 days, while ChatGPT actually needed for that only 2 days. So that's actually the reason why ChatGPT. So a lot of people are speaking about ChatGPT so much, for the reason that it's actually pretty actively used technology. So a lot of people are using it, and the amount of users of that technology is growing pretty fast. That actually means that it's solving some problem. And to understand which problems it's solving, and what actually ChatGPT did, let's try to actually to think what actually ChatGPT did. I would say that ChatGPT did something similar to actually what this small tool did. So I don't know whether how you are close within robotics domain, or whether you know what this tool, how this tool is called, but that's actually a microcontroller called Arduino. And what Arduino did in late 2015, I assume, it's actually allowed people to easily build their solutions. Before Arduino, you actually need to be an expert in embedded technologies. So you needed to develop your custom PCBs. You actually need to buy a custom sensor. You need to investigate a data sheet. You need to know as either an assembler or low-level C, and only then you can just develop your custom solution. Here we see a simple solution that actually even a student could do. So that's Arduino connected to a simple LED screen with several buttons, and actually by pressing these buttons, you can manipulate the system. And that's just like a bunch of wires, a simple board, and several buttons. And that's actually, as I said, can be even actually assembled and programmed by the student. That's actually the same things like ChatGPT did. It actually allowed everyone to build their custom AI. So that's why actually it's reached so many users. And it turned actually the process of development of AI in something that's nowadays are pretty oftenly called like prompt engineering. And to understand how ChatGPT would influence our future, that makes sense to go back to our history and understand like when it actually started. And the first key point of changing everything was actually also OpenAI model, and that OpenAI model is called CLIP. Here you see a simple task. That simple task is actually a classification. A classification is a problem where you receive either an image, either a piece of text. In our case, it was in CLIP case, it was an image, and you need to predict like what class it's actually is within. If you remember, like actually a TV series called Silicon Valley, so in TV series called Silicon Valley, they were actually were doing a classification product, a classification app that were classifying like different like products. But their POC was really dummy. It could classify like either like hot dog or not hot dog. So it was like a binary classification with two classes. And what actually happened actually in 2019, no, maybe a little bit late, in 2021, actually OpenAI released a model called CLIP. And the idea of that model is pretty simple. The idea of that model is actually that it allows you to match an image with a specific text or find the most relevant text to the image. And what it allowed actually to do a very interesting thing. It allowed you, instead of writing your own classifier and training creating like this neural networks from scratch, it allowed you to, instead of like doing all of that, to do what now we are calling prompt engineering, and use that prompt engineering to actually create a simple classifier. So, for example, if I would like to classify, I don't know, like different objects, instead of like creating thousands of images of each specific classes and then like creating a model, what I'm doing like actually I'm taking five, depends on how many classes we have. I'm creating, for example, 10 prompts, a photo of, and then putting like a photo of plane, a photo of car, a photo of dog, a photo of bird. And then what I'm doing, I'm finding like the most similar text to that image. And that's actually based on Clip that actually allows me to do that. As this OpenAI model, we can pretty simply do that. And by that, we receive a pretty simple classifier. That was just a start. After like actually Clip become this prompt engineering solution that allows you in easy way to perform like classification of an object, and you can easily do that with several lines of code. Of if you're not like doing writing a code, you can just ask ChatGPT nowadays to write you a simple Clip classifier. Actually, a new model start rising, and one of such models was next models was actually pretty straightforward improvement of Clip. So in Clip, you can just classify an object, and but it doesn't allow you to actually tell where exactly this object is located. And the next like prompt engineering tool that appeared was called grounding Dino. What is actually allowed you to do, it allowed you to write a prompt, and as output of that prompt an image, it tell you where exact the object is located. For example, on the first image, you may see that, or on this image on the bottom, you may see that actually the prompt is person and the input is some World Cup image. And by that like prompt and by that image, it output you a bounding box of humans. It allows you to even do a more complicated things. For example, it allows you to write down the left line, and it would create a bounding box only for the left line. So that was something next that appeared. After that, or to be honest, to say pretty in the same time, a new model actually appeared, a model that is called SAM. It's abbreviation for segment anything. And what is actually it allows to do, it actually allows you to segment any image in a pretty good manner. If you were like working with Photoshop, you may remember like magic pen or magic wand, I think like it's called like in Photoshop, that allows you by clicking on the object actually to actually find the position of that object, like to actually create you a mask of that object. But that would not work well if you have not object of the same color, or like the object itself would be pretty complex. What Meta actually did, it created you a magic wand that automatically allows you to actually to just input an image, and it would split you within the pieces. By combining that model actually with grounding Dino and actually and Clip, what you can actually do, you can actually have an image, write a prompt. For example, select me a photo of left building, or like a window on top of the image. And it actually allows you to actually do this prompt engineering, selecting actually the window itself. So, okay, we understood that this era of actually prompt engineering was already moving pretty fast. So, and already existed before actually ChatGPT and OpenAI. So the question would be, what would be, but still, the question is like, what would be next? And answering, when I try to answer for this question, I actually do, I am motivated by several things. The first thing that actually I am motivated usually by is actually a prediction by researchers from Berkeley that was done in 2016. So they actually create you a plan, actually make a prediction when AI will outperform human in different spheres. And some of these predictions are already happening. Like for example, here is a prediction that AI will outperform human and write New York Times bestseller in near 2030. We already heard that Amazon is full of books that are generated by AI, and they are pretty well sold. So I think like we are already pretty close and moving in the direction when AI will write like a New York Times bestseller. So another things like when I'm looking like what would be next is actually looking into large companies or companies that actually involved a lot of money and trying to understand like what are they developing and what are they doing. So there is like two companies, one on the left and the other one on the right. So the company on the left is called Adapt, and what they are doing, they are they are creating a simple extension that is doing something similar to what ChatGPT is doing, but instead of actually answering you, it's performing actions. So it's, for example, you ask a model to actually find me a house in Houston that works for a family of 4. My budget is 60K, and it goes through the whole website, putting like filters or doing some other activities and doing use that action. The thing on the right is actually a tool called Rabbit AI, and that's pretty the same thing. It allows you to either order a Bolt taxi via speaking with it, or like doing some other actions. And the thing is that it doesn't work like as a Siri. The Siri is actually integrating with Bolt API or some other API, and that allows you to do that. Rabbit AI is actually working in another way, is actually also doing this action, going to a web page, clicking like the buttons, and doing a lot of that stuff instead of you. And that's, with combination with the previous prediction, are showing us that there is a huge opportunity in something that's called, I would say, transmodality. And that transmodality is actually about not having text as an input and text as an output, but instead of that, actually having like pretty different inputs and pretty different outputs. That means that, for example, you can have like as an input image and as an output text, and or as an input you may have text, and as output you can have a list of actions. And that's actually pretty interesting from perspective how humans behave. The humans is transferring, like one human is transferring to the other human information. One of the way to transfer actually information is actually to transfer that information via language. And for example, you may ask a person to perform some action based on what you actually said. So for example, can you give me this glass of water, or can you bring me this, I don't know, like piece of chocolate or some other things. And what actually those approaches are showing, these big companies are showing that they are actually moving in that direction. They are trying to replace this last step of what would be the that usually if you would ask ChatGPT, for example, how to find a house under some amount on a web page, it would ChatGPT would give you instruction. They are trying to replace this last step with actually a proper instructions or like other things. So they are reaching like to they are transforming not to text but to other modality. And by thinking in that way and realizing that actually the next huge boost of large language models, it would be in other modality, what we can assume that that's the next like pretty important implementation of usage of large language models would be actually in robotics. For example, you already saw a lot of robots that are performing like pretty close to a human. And that actually can be done by large language models. So the actions that they are performing are like actually the output of this large language models. Another interesting thing
So,
is
Oles, Mikael here, thanks very much. This is super exciting. And I think, you got me really interested in this, and I was listening so carefully, so I almost forgot about time. But we have a few other speakers here that we would like to, but we have time for one question at least. So, because, it was super excited to hear that how quickly this ChatGPT came just in 2 days and just got so many people on board now, and how classifications have done in a very smart way, and you took us all the way into prompt engineering and all that, so super exciting. But hey, can you just share with me, if I look back 100 years, we had industrial revolutions, and industry machines really made people weaker. What will happen now when we see intelligent machines? Will they make people weaker as well?
I was thinking about that, and actually, yeah, the Industry Revolution actually made people weaker for the reasons that they were not doing like something, stop doing something with their hands. So instead of like machines were doing like something with their hands, instead of was doing like something instead of humans. And actually, yeah, that's true. But on the other side, the people start living longer. So, and I think the reason for that is actually because machines start producing like better medicines. They start like actually improving our lives. So people start living longer. Like a lot of disease actually start to be cured, and that's the same thing can actually happen with this intelligent machine. So they can actually not only actually make us stupider, but they can also actually create a lot of medicines for us. For example, as I told during a lecture, so large language models can not only transform text to text, but they also can transform like text to other modality. The same things can actually happen with molecules. So, for example, they can receive like some molecules as an input and output the corrected molecules as an output. Either, or for example, they can receive like I don't know, like some instruction what need to be cured as an input, and some actually molecules that would actually be generated by large language model as an output, like what actually that would actually help to solve like this disease that were like
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. I think it's a good attitude to think about that, because a lot of people getting scared about AI and think, will they take over? But maybe we can just look forward to longer life thanks to AI. So really exciting, and thanks a lot, Oles.